Bible reading service at United Way Partner Agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is Friday, February 2nd, 2018, and your radio hosts today are
Alice
and Robert. We will be reading the news from today's edition of the Fayetteville Observer. Your weather today will be cooler with a morning shower or two. The high will be 48. Tonight the low will be 22. It will be partly cloudy and much cooler. Tomorrow will be chilly with sun, some clouds, the high of 46 and a low of 32. Sunday will be rain and drizzle in the afternoon. The high will be 56, the low 37. Monday will be mostly sunny. The high will be 56 and the low 31. Tuesday will be nice with times of sun and clouds. The high will be 62. The low will be 45. Wednesday will be cloudy and mild with possible rain. The high will be 69, the low 41. And Thursday will be a couple of showers possible. A high of 53, a low of 28. Sunrise was today at 7:14 a.m. Sunset tonight at 5:45 p.m. Moonrise today at 9:29 p.m. Moonset will be at 9:24 a.m. Sunrise on Saturday will be at 7:13 a.m. Sunset at 5:46 p.m. Last moon is February 7th. New moon is February 15th. First moon February 23rd, and the full moon will be March 1st.
and today in history. Today is Friday, February 2nd, the 33rd day of 2018. There are 332 days left in the year. This is Groundhog Day. Today's highlight. On February 2nd, 1943, the remainder of Nazi forces from the Battle of Stalingrad surrendered in a major victory for the Soviets in World War II. In 1536, present-day Buenos Aires, Argentina, was founded by Pedro de Mendoza of Spain. In 1653, New Amsterdam, now New York City, was incorporated. In 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ended the Mexican-American War was signed. In 1925, the legendary Alaska Serum Run ended as the last of the series of dog mushers brought a life-saving treatment to Nome, the scene of a diphtheria epidemic 6 days after the drug left Nenana. In 1932, Duke Ellington and his orchestra recorded "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing" for Brunswick Records. In 1959, public schools in Arlington and Norfolk, Virginia were racially desegregated without incident. In 1950, in a dramatic concession to South Africa's black majority, President F.W. de Klerk lifted a ban on the African National Congress and promised to free Nelson Mandela. Birthdays. Comedian Tom Smothers is 81. Rock singer, guitarist Graham Nash is 76. Actor Bo Hopkins is 74. Country singer Howard Bellamy from the Bellamy Brothers is 72. TV chef Anna Garten is 70. Actor Brent Spiner, Star Trek, is 69. Model Christy Brinkley is 64. Actress Kim Zener is 63. Actress Jennifer Westfeldt is 48. Rapper Timo is 46. Actress Marissa Jarrett Wincourt is 45. Actress Lori Beth Denberg is 42. Singer Shakira is 41. Actor Rich Sommer is 40. Country singer Blaine Larson is 32. Actress Zasha Mamate is 30. And today is February 2nd, and we have one birthday on our list. That's Vioza McLeod. Happy birthday, Miss Vioza. Happy birthday to you and many, many more.
Daybreak, need to know, Spring Rolls. Korean Presbyterian Church's annual Spring Rolls sale is February 8th through 10th. The hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on February 8th and 9th, and 8 a.m. to noon on February 10th. The church is at 1251 Ireland Drive. Spring rolls, 10 for $7, are sold with vials of spicy sweet sauce. For more information, call 323-0439 or 323-2466. Platelet shortage. The Cape Fear Valley Blood Donor Center is seeking help from the community as it deals with a shortage of blood platelets. The center is looking for platelet donors. Platelets are like the body's Band-Aid. They help the blood clot. Platelets go to premature babies, people receiving chemotherapy, burn victims, and others. The Blood Donor Center supports Cumberland, Harnett, Hoke, and Bladen counties. Call 615-3305 for more information or to schedule an appointment. Fake News. The Writing Center at Methodist University is having a panel discussion, Fake News and Information Literacy and the Disciplines, on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Members of the university's faculty and staff will discuss the epidemic of fake news and the need for information literacy. The free event is open to the public. For more information, call 630-7264. Active Shooter Preparedness Class. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office is holding an active shooter preparedness class for heads of church organizations at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The event is open to leaders of any faith-based organization within the county. The training is free and there is no formal registration. Seating is limited to 60. Contact Sergeant Chris Taylor at 223-3323 to reserve a seat. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar@fayobserver.com or fax details to 486-3545. For questions, call 486-3500.
Livewire. NPR overriding ESPN radio signal is a puzzler. I live on US 1 between Aberdeen and Sanford. I used to listen to ESPN radio on FM 99.9 out of Greensboro. Now I get a national public radio station on 99.9 instead. If I drive north of Vass, then the signal for ESPN comes in. I can't find an NPR station listed on 99.9. How does this happen, and what can be done? WR Lakeview. One possible reason for the issue you are having would be something called signal bleeding, which happens when one station overrides another. With your situation, we're not sure how an NPR station is bleeding in your sports station, especially since, as you mentioned, there's not an NPR station in North Carolina on 99.9. All the NPR stations anywhere close to you are farther down the dial, such as 91.5 in Chapel Hill or 91.9 in Fayetteville. The ESPN station on 99.9 is actually in the Raleigh area, so we suspect the Chapel Hill station might be causing the issue if the two locations on the radio dial weren't so far apart. We were able to come up with a possible explanation that is connected to the weather, especially if you're having the trouble when it's warm. The engineering radio website says something called tropospheric ducting can happen when a warmer layer in the atmosphere forms over a cool layer. This causes radio signals to bend back towards the earth rather than carry out into space. The issue can last for a few minutes to several hours and can happen on all frequencies, but most often happen above 100 megahertz according to the website. In some more severe cases, FM stations can travel 500 or more miles and override the local station's transmitter. Site 515 miles away, the site says. We suggest listening closely when NPR comes in so you can determine which station is causing the issue. Then give them a call. Perhaps they'll know what's going on. Steve Devane.
Public Safety. Cumberland County arrest. David Wayne Nunnery Jr., 56 of the 9400 block of Ruth Vincent Road in Autryville, was charged Thursday with conspiracy. The bail was set at $7,500. Eugene McFadden, 47 of the 2500 block of Caledonia Road, was charged Thursday with conspiracy and misdemeanor assault. The bail was set at $5,000. Tanika Chevelle McLaughlin, 39 of the 600 block of Walker Street, was charged Thursday with 10 counts of forgery and 5 counts each of uttering a forged document and possessing stolen property. Bail was set at $2,000. George Hamilton Hayden, 35, of the 7500 block of Telfair Drive, was charged Thursday with breaking and entering, possession of firearm by a felon, and 2 counts of misdemeanor assault by pointing a gun. Bail was set at $21,000. Jasper Jamari Ramsey, 22, of the 3100 block of Asteria Street, was charged Thursday with possession of a stolen firearm and possession of firearm by a felon. Bail was set at $15,000. Break-in, 6100 block of Kimbrick Drive, was reported at 10:19 p.m. Wednesday. Purse, wallets, money, and jewelry were taken.
In brief, 3 displaced in Thursday morning fire. 3 people were displaced by a house fire Thursday morning. The Fayetteville Fire Department responded to a report of a house fire at 7:43 a.m. at 1213 Butterwood Circle. When firefighters arrived, they found heavy smoke showing from a garage of a single-story home. No injuries were reported, and the cause of the fire has not been determined. The Red Cross assisted the residents. Child porn found in Hope Mills' home. A Hope Mills man is accused of downloading child pornography on a flash drive found in his home, arresting documents in the Cumberland County Magistrate's Office. Michael Brack Barnes, 36, of the 3000 block of Bryant Circle, was charged Thursday with 10 counts of third-degree sexual exploitation of a minor. On January 25th, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, acting on 2 tips that were passed on from the National Exploited Children's, executed a search warrant at Barnes' residence, the document said. The information was given to the national organization by the electronic service provider Dropbox and Tumblr, which reported that images and videos involving child pornography had been uploaded on their sites, the document said. The sheriff's office obtained a search warrant for Barnes' home and found a flash drive that contained 10 files depicting minor children engaged in sexual activity. Barnes' bail was set at $60,000. Twin 17-year-old brothers are accused of robbing a man and a woman at gunpoint last week, according to arrest warrants in Cumberland County. Darius Javon Clemens and DeAndre Jamal Clemens, both of the 2200 block of Kimberly Drive, were charged Thursday with robbery with a deadly weapon, conspiracy. They robbed Richard and Shalonda Moore of $270, the warrant said. Bill for the twins was set at $50,000 each. Fayetteville police are investigating an apparent suicide that happened at about 11 a.m. in the parking lot of Westwood Shopping Center at Morganton and McPherson Church Roads. A man driving a blue Ford shot himself while inside the vehicle, which was parked between the BB&T Bank and the Roses store on the Morganton Road side, said Sergeant Sean Streppe, a police spokesman. Local and state. City receives clean audit opinion. The City of Fayetteville received a clean audit opinion, which is the highest level of assurance on its financial statement for the last fiscal year. We are pleased with the result of this audit, which demonstrates our commitment to ensuring we spend our money in a fiscally responsible manner, said Cheryl Spivey, the city's chief financial officer. We take this seriously and want residents to know that we are good stewards of all taxpayer dollars. The result of the independent audit were discussed at the audit committee meeting Thursday evening. This audit ordered the last fiscal year from July 1st through June 30, 2017. Every year, the city hires an outside accounting firm to make sure there are no issues in the budget expenditures. The audit also makes sure there are controls in place so all of the city's spending is accounted for by the finance department. RSM US LLP based is the Chicago in Chicago completed the city's audit this year. Lou Cannon, a partner with RSM US LLP, presented the committee with the results. The audit found that the city spent the majority of its general funds, 57.6%, on public safety. This includes spending that goes towards running the city's fire and police departments. Administration costs came in at 20.5%, recreation at 9.4%, and transportation at 6.6% of the general funds. The remaining general funds went towards economic development, environmental issues, and paying off debt. The city ended the year with an unassigned fund balance of 13.1% of expenditures. This exceeds the recommendation by the North Carolina Local Government Commission, which oversees the independent audit in the state, that says municipalities should maintain an 8% minimum available fund balance in case of emergencies. The audit found 3 areas where the city and the Fayetteville Public Works Commission, which was also audited, could improve. The audit recommended that PwC have its Information Technologies Department identify integration issues with this work order module system. In addition, the audit recommended PwC review the requirements for calculating its net investment in capital assets. That's already been dealt with, Cannon said, of the issues identified with PwC. The audit recommended that the city improve its IT control. Things like passwords might need to be changed more often, Cannon said. Cannon commended the city on their accounting work in light of the additional tasks employees have been assigned in the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew, which struck the region on October 8, 2016. City staff have managed more than 100 federal and state grants and awards in amount totaling $28 million with no audit findings, Cannon said. The audit results were delayed in part due to extra work that the Hurricane Matthew grant required, city staff said voting.
Headstones reveal rich history. Exhibit explores African American heritage through grave markers by Roz Hamlet, correspondent. Now on display through February 24th are photographs of headstones and grave markers of deceased members of Fayetteville's African American community who, despite deaths long past, are current participants in a celebration of Black History Month at the Arts Council. The exhibit, It Is Well With My Soul, is presented by the Fayetteville Area Transportation and Local History Museum. It explores the region's cultural, artistic, and racial heritage through a selection of grave markers and cemeteries. Also included are artworks inspired by the cemeteries by members of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. Aside from being final resting places of many of Fayetteville's African Americans, these cemeteries are rich storehouses of local history. There's Fayetteville resident Guilford Christmas, for example, who during the Civil War was a servant to Colonel Walton Green, an officer in the Confederate Army. As much as possible, we tried to get cameos of the deceased, said Jim Greathouse, senior museum specialist. We wanted to bring the person to life by putting a face with a name. Heidi Bleasy, one of the exhibit's 3 historians, said that showing the proper respect to these sacred spaces while conducting field research was a challenge unto itself. With assistance from several members of the Youth Council, stepping carefully among the grave sites while getting up close and intimate wasn't always easy, but the payoff was worth the effort for Bleasy, Greathouse, and museum director Bruce Dawes, who conceived the idea for the exhibit, to come across some old panels on African American cemeteries. Some of the headstones completely stopped us in our tracks and brought us full circle, said Bleasy, describing the experience of surveying hundreds of grave markers and then making important connections between the graves. Benio Culbreth, for example, 1892 to 1974, apparently won a sought-after African-American artisan whose unique style of headstone design distinguished itself among hundreds of other markers through its distinctive markings and the use of bird motifs as decoration. Many of the grave markers are works of art and illustrate the need for a long-term preservation. These cemeteries are valuable historic and cultural treasures that should be preserved to honor the past and to teach the generations to come, Dawes said. The exhibit is organized into 6 sections. A place of remembrance. This section features 2 well-known African Americans who played a significant role in Fayetteville history, and for generations their burial sites have served as a place of remembrance for large numbers of students and residents. Historic African American cemeteries and churchyards. This section includes several historic African American cemeteries and churchyards, including a rural slave cemetery, gone but not forgotten. This section features examples of cemeteries and individual graves that have been lost either through the passage of time, neglect, or development. But research, the creation of a written record, and with replacement markers, the people and places were rescued from obscurity. Symbolism. This section explains the meaning of symbols found on local grave markers. The most common symbols on grave markers in local historic African American cemeteries represent biblical meaning, religious orientation, fraternal membership, or professional occupation. They left a mark. This section features a sampling of African American men and women who played important roles in local history. They held local, state, and national elected offices with positions such as veterans, educators, ministers, lawyers, business owners, medical professionals, skilled artisans, and many others. The vernacular art form. This section explores the legacy of African Americans who designed grave markers. Traditional grave markers, sometimes called vernacular or folk markers, are the work of friends, family, or part-time artisans in the community. If you go, It Is Well With My Soul is through February 24th at the Arts Council on 301 Hay Street. For more information, call 323-1776.
Fort Bragg welcomes new Garrison Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major John K. Savanka came to Fort Bragg as an infantryman more than 2 years ago. His career prepared him to help fight the nation's war in Iraq and Afghanistan. It had not prepared him to help lead the nation's largest military installation, part gated city and part training and deployment platform. Before he came to Fort Bragg, Savanka spent more than 2 decades as an enlisted leader among soldiers. He was a ranger instructor, a senior drill sergeant, and held other leadership positions within infantry units. But at Fort Bragg, he found himself in a different environment. Instead of training soldiers and maneuvering troops, Savanka helped support what would be one of the largest cities in North Carolina. Fort Bragg has 1,500 miles of paved roads, 9 schools, 3 airfields, and more than 52 million square feet of building space, supporting a population of more than 175,000 troops, families, and retirees. There was a learning curve, Savanka said Thursday, after he relinquished responsibility as the Fort Bragg Garrison's senior non-commissioned officer to Command Sergeant Major Eric R. McCrae. For 27 months, Savanka was on the front lines of effort to support warfighters, their families, and others in the Fort Bragg community. Whatever it was, community events or tragic training accidents, Savanka was there to lead. When Hurricane Matthew threatened dams and destroyed roads in fall 2016, Savanka surveyed the damage and directed the next troops. And months earlier, after leaders scrambled over the course of a few months to pave the way for a first-of-its-kind Major League Baseball game at Fort Bragg between the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins, Savanka was there to greet the teams and ensure the game went off without a hitch. Colonel Kyle A. Reed, Fort Bragg's garrison commander, said Savanka's commitment and decision to the Army and community has never wavered. It is nothing short of phenomenal, he said. Reed said Savanka was a seasoned and experienced non-commissioned officer, but he attributed his success at Fort Bragg to his ability to build a team. The garrison includes a workforce of more than 32,500 people, mostly civilian employees and contractors. On Thursday, Savanka thanked that team, which he said has been unmatched across his military career. The garrison supports soldiers and their families, he said, and despite being under-resourced, they get the job done with the support of retirees, partners, and neighbors who make Fort Bragg a community of excellence. Savinka, he said he had to be taught and coached on installation management. These past 27 months have truly been awesome, he said. Savinka had not served at Fort Bragg prior to assuming the Garrison Command Sergeant Major position in 2015, but he said he and his family were immediately embraced by the community on post and its neighbors. "We're here to stay now," he said, "that's for sure." Savinka had been set to retire following his last assignment, but officials said he was asked to remain on Fort Bragg and to serve with the 18th Airborne Corps. He agreed, yet another sign of his commitment to the force, Reed said. But his final address to garrison leaders, Savinka said, McCrae was the right man to replace him. McCrae comes to Fort Bragg from South Korea, where he was most recently the senior enlisted leader of the 35th Air Defense Artillery Brigade. He is no stranger to Fort Bragg, having served on post from 2006 to 2009 with the 108th Air Defense Artillery Brigade. In the years since, McCrae said he and his family have been trying to return to the post. McCrae said being selected as the Garrison Command Sergeant Major is a humbling experience. The new job will come with challenges, he said, but it also stands to be extremely fulfilling. Fort Bragg is a soldier's dream. You get to shoot, move, and communicate. You get to jump out of airplanes. You get to blow up stuff. You get to do all of that, he said. But for the first time in my military career, I don't just get to be a taker. I get to be a giver. I get to be the one that is supporting the communities, supporting those war fighters who are going downrange, supporting their families.
Mid-Pines Partner Embraces History and Traditions by Bill Kirby, Jr. There's something inviting about this place with the circular drive, and all the more in the evening when you can see the soft lamps emitting a yellow hue from the Georgian-style hotel windows. There's a warrant. Mid-Pines has history and rich traditions. Arish Larani says about Mid-Pines Inn and Golf Club, it has been a part of the Sandhills since 1921, and has the right bones. The 118-room hotel, with its Donald Ross-designed 18-hole golf course, was purchased in 1994 by the Mid-Pines Development Group, comprised of the Peggy Kirk Bell family, owner of Pine Needles Lodge and Golf Club since 1953, Jack Campbell and Jim Marsh of High Point, and the late Sonny Ridenour of Winston-Salem. They bought it from Manor Care, based in Silver Springs, Maryland, a company that owned hotel chains to include Quality Inn, Knights Inn, and Econo Lodge, and it was something of the perfect fit for the late Peggy Kirk Bell, matriarch of Pine Needles Lodge and Inn, which was just across Midland Road with another 18-hole Donald Ross course. Now Kelly Miller sees another perfect fit in the partnership with Arani, chairman of a private holding company, according to a news release that includes real estate and private equity investments and apparel companies. Arani bought out Marsh and the estates of Ridenour, who died in 2007, and Campbell, who died in 2013. We've always had partners at Mid-Pines, says Miller, 59, president and chief executive officer of Pine Needles, and his son-in-law to Peggy Kirk Bell, the Ladies Professional Golf Association Hall of Famer, who died in 2016. I met Haresh through a mutual friend, and this was a nice opportunity. Haresh is a wonderful man, and he has a wonderful family, and he has an affinity for golf. And as you might guess, an affinity for Mid-Pines Inn and Golf Club. The more time I spend at Mid-Pines, the Ronnie, 55, was saying Thursday, the more I'm drawn to the experience. And don't get the idea Kelly Miller and the Bell family are going anywhere or turning all of their attention to Pine Needles, the flagship family golf mecca dating to 1953, when Warren Bullet Bell and Peggy Kirk Bell purchased the club. We're still running it, Miller says. People won't see a difference as it relates to us, but it will be great for them and great for us. Upgrades to the hotel rooms, the bar, and even the driving range, Miller says, likely are in the offing with Tarani aboard. One of the things Kelly and I strongly believe in is enhancing the community with an enjoyable golf experience, he says, which we will enhance with our guided investments into Mid-Pines. But Mid-Pines Miller and Thorania Fuhr will retain its historic character. It's such a cool place with a cool entrance, Miller says. If you're playing golf and look back, it's a spectacular view. Or if you're sitting in the bar looking out at the course. It's one of the reasons I chose Haresh, because he is mindful of history. Bill Kirby Jr. can be reached at bkirby@fayobserver.com or by calling 486-3571.
You need to take 30 minutes.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our address is P.O. Box 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at area code 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Alice
and Robert, and we are proud to serve you today.
Okay. Duke Energy may help minority-owned firms. One of the largest U.S. electricity companies is making changes that could make it easier for black, female, and other minority-owned construction and hauling firms to compete for work on its multi-billion-dollar project to excavate and close coal ash storage pits. Under pressure from its state regulator, Duke Energy Corporation announced last week that it is doubling the weight it places on awarding work to diverse and local suppliers. That will still account for just 20% of the evaluation, with the bulk of the award decision based on technical and commercial measures. The move comes after its top 10 contractors owned by women, veterans, or minorities landed only about 1% of the more than $1.1 billion the Charlotte-based utility spent on fixing its coal ash problems in North Carolina between 2014 and last September. The only black-owned contractor landed at number 10 with contract value at $214,000, the utility said in a regulatory filing. The share of coal ash work Duke Energy reported awarding minority, women, and veterans is much lower than goals set by the federal and state government. The company has estimated it will spend more than $5 billion to clean up coal ash pits at 14 North Carolina power plants, and it wants to pass the entire price tag to consumers through higher electric bill. Roughly 400 companies landed Duke Energy's coal ash work, with many of the largest based outside North Carolina. Coal ash is a residue left after decades of burning coal to generate power. It can contain toxic materials, including mercury, arsenic, and chromium. After a 2014 coal ash spill from a Duke Energy plant coated the Dan River, legislators passed state laws requiring the company to close all its ash ponds by 2029. That's being done either by excavating the waste and burying it in new holes lined to prevent groundwater contamination, or by drying out the liquefied ash and converting pits with a shell that blocks water from filtering down. Jesse Callis said one thing that would help minority contractors like him compete for Duke Energy's coal ash contracts would be simply knowing what the company needs to have done. There has not been an outreach, said Callis, who started Callis Construction Incorporated in Durham 21 years ago. We didn't know about it. His company lacks all the trucks and equipment Callis expects he would need to fulfill a contract, but he said that could be ramped up rapidly. The general contractor's 13 full-time employees are supplemented with subcontractors, Callis said. He's long relied on to complete construction projects for hospitals, universities, and government. Most of our work has been more complex than moving coal ash, Callis said. It's not rocket science. Federal government agencies shoot for awarding 23% of prime contract to small businesses, with specific included targets of 5% for companies owned by women, 3% for disabled veterans, and 5% for small disadvantaged businesses. North Carolina's goal is awarding 10% of building construction projects to companies owned by minorities, women, and other targeted groups. Actual spending has ranged from 18% to 30% over the past 5 years, according to state figures.
4 teens charged in more robbery, assault, Carthage. 4 teens are accused of robbing and assaulting a 78-year-old Robbins man on separate occasions, the Moore County Sheriff's Office said Thursday. The home invasion robberies at the home of the victim, who was not identified, on Mount Carmel Road happened Christmas Day and January 2nd, Deputy Chief Frank Rodriguez said. On both occasions, the 4 broke in after dark, he said. The victim was beaten on both occasions, but did not require hospitalization. Firearms were taken in the Christmas Day robbery, Rodriguez said, while money and prescription drugs were taken in the January 2nd incident. Those arrested are John Dawson Harner, 18, of the 100 block of Cooley Lane in Carthage, Nelson Aaron Ismail, 18, of the 200 block of Love Grove Church Road in West End, Tripp Thomas Sloan, 18, of the 100 block of Governor's Creek Lane in Carthage, and Armani Matriaz Baldwin, 17, of Carthage. Harner, Sloan, and Baldwin are charged with 2 counts each of first-degree burglary, robbery with a dangerous weapon, larceny of a firearm, and possessing a stolen firearm, and 1 count each of possessing stolen property. Harner also is charged with misdemeanor assault. Ismail is charged with 1 count each of the same offenses and possession of firearm by a felon. Bail was set at $150,000 for Sloan, $125,000 for Harner, and $100,000 each for Ismail and Baldwin.
Okay. Is the Senate trying to kill Gen X response? Republicans in the state Senate have given us our first look at how they plan to handle the Gen X pollution in the Cape Fear River and around the Chemours plant on the Cumberland-Bladen County line. We all should be afraid. It looks as if they want to block state agencies from doing anything about the pollution. In a January 23rd letter to Trey Glenn, Regional Administrator of the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, 4 members of the Senate's Select Committee on North Carolina River Water Quality asked whether federal law allows the state to regulate chemical compounds like Gen X, for which there are no federal standards. The letter was signed by Senator Bill Rabon of Brunswick County, whose district also includes Bladen County, and Senator Trudy Wade, the Guilford County chairwoman of the committee. Senator Michael Lee of New Hanover County and Senator Andy Wells of Catawba County. All 4 are Republicans, and 2 have constituents directly affected by the pollution. The senators asked whether the state has authority to regulate Gen X under provisions of the Federal Clean Water Act, and they also asked the EPA to audit the State Department of Environmental Quality's permitting process under the National Pollution Discharge Eliminating System Program. Because these are federally mandated programs, the senators write, it is our belief that the EPA is in the best position to evaluate and advise us on the adequacy of the North Carolina programs to protect public health and the natural environment. Jamie Kritzer, a DEQ spokesman, said agency officials were surprised that the senators wanted to put an extra burden on the department at this time. That may be exactly what the senators had in mind. At the very least, their effort is a clear attempt to obstruct and slow the DEQ's response to Gen X pollution, if not an effort to derail it altogether. The River Committee was formed last year in response to a reevaluation of pollution from the Chimere plant. To date, the panel has met in formal session just once, and it accomplished nothing. This is in stark contrast to what appear to be genuine efforts by the State House of Representatives to take action. During a brief special session early last month, the House unanimously passed a bill that would have given state regulators $2.3 million for equipment and personnel to expand efforts to track and contain the spread of chemicals emitted from Chemere's and DuPont's Fayetteville works. The bill was shot dead on Senate Leader Phil Berger's doorstep, and now we're beginning to see why. The Senate has no apparent interest in protecting North Carolina residents from substances that may cause cancer and other health problems. Hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians are affected by these chemicals. The Senator's appeal to the EPA is notable for its timing. The federal agency is a year into the dubious stewardship of the Trump administration, which has launched a relentless search and destroy mission targeting many key environmental protections. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, a former Oklahoma Attorney General who was a ferocious EPA opponent and critic, has spent much of the year dismantling the agency and getting out of the way of industrial pollutions. Asking EPA's leadership to evaluate state efforts on Gen X at this time is a pretty clear indication of intent to obstruct. What's really surprising is the Senate's failure to grasp how important this issue is to so many people. This is an election year, and we'd expect that senators from this region would at least feign interest in the pollution and its potential impact on their constituents' health. And yet, at best, GOP senators have been invisible on the issue, which is certainly the case with Fayetteville's Republican Senator Wesley Merritt. But now, Rabin and Lee have taken action to hinder the state's response. We expect voters will remember that in November. With every month that has passed since the Gen X pollution was made public last June, we've seen startling revelations about its presence in our water, air, and land. The fact that there is little research on its human effects doesn't make it benign, especially since we know it does cause cancer in laboratory animals. If our state Senate stays on its course, it will be at its members and its constituents' great peril.
A veteran ball game. It appears that our city and county leaders are having a more successful inning at the plate. It sure looked like a big strikeout was coming, but we may get a base hit instead. Mayor Mitch Colvin and the County Commissioners Chairman Larry Lancaster say they're close to an agreement on how the county will contribute to Fayetteville's new downtown minor league ballpark. City officials had word last week that the county was taking ballpark money out of an earlier joint agreement for funding the downtown Franklin Street parking garage, which opened in 2012. The county plans to contribute to the ballpark through the same mechanism, revenue it gets from a special downtown tax district. The good news about the stadium funding came from a city-county meeting once the two governments agreed to study a plan to extend some city development jurisdiction over the Shaw Heights neighborhood, if not outright annexing it, and also working on a new agreement on sharing sales tax revenue, which has been a contentious subject in the past. So far, no runs but no errors either. It could turn into a pretty good ball game.
Okay, letter to the editor. I cannot understand why the media across the country, paper, online, TV, etc., are not covering the criminal activity that FBI engaged in out in Nevada. A federal judge accused the agent of lying, obstruction of justice, with several other crimes. Where is the outrage? Not one agent has been disciplined. Does not anyone have a sense of the Gestapo here? They falsify statements, lie, kill an innocent man, put 3 more in jail for 2.5 years, and it goes away. I suspect the judge ordered a mistrial because she felt she was going to be charged as an accessory. If you cover any of the facts on this case, she repeatedly refused the defense motion to include evidence that our national crime force was lying. Call it any way you like, but there seems to be collusion with the media to keep this under wraps and hope that it goes away. If that is permitted, when are you going to complain about getting a life term in jail for bogus charges? Let's see the news on this. Some young reporter should be able to make his mark, unless of course there are propaganda controls from on high. Okay.
Oh my, have you heard the news by Jonah Goldberg? Washington is awash in so much muchness these days it's hard to follow the story. That may be the point. Every new development or revelation is a blockbuster and smoking gun proof that this is bigger than Watergate. Every new dot is connected seamlessly and instantaneously to fit a mosaic of outrage. For those out to get the president at all costs, the scandal is a moving target. Russian collusion, obstruction of justice, the president's mental competency, etc. For those out to protect the president at all costs, the scandal is more stable. Conspiracy to destroy the president, orchestrated by the deep state, abetted by the media and democratic lawmakers. The only way to sustain the hysteria is to denounce the unhysterical as complicit bystanders to the alleged scandal. Lack of outrage is itself an outrage. It's a beltway version of the old Marxist crime of lacking revolutionary zeal. The report last week that the president wanted to fire special counsel Robert S. Mueller III last June, something we already knew, was greeted by many resistance types as indistinguishable from actually firing him. Never mind that, as a matter of law and logic, being talked out of obstructing justice isn't the same thing as obstructing justice. But the resistance types aren't wrong that there is a shameless and demagogic campaign to derail and discredit Mueller, as well as the agency he once directed, the FBI. There are four distinct storylines here. The FBI's investigation into Hillary Clinton's handling of classified material, the use or abuse of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court in investigating some members of the Trump campaign, the recovered text messages between two FBI agents having an affair, and finally the Mueller probe into allegations of Russian collusion and the claim that the president obstructed justice when he fired FBI Director James B. Comey. One of these things is not like the others. Now, I actually believe that Clinton's handling of classified material was outrageous, and I'm largely persuaded by the case laid out by my National Review colleague Andrew McCarthy, a former prosecutor, that the fix was in at the Justice Department to protect her from a criminal investigation because any such investigation would also implicate President Obama. I think the texts between FBI agents Peter Strzok and Lisa Page are somewhat damning of Strzok and Page. They clearly didn't like Donald Trump and were clearly too interested in the political ramifications of their work, hardly unheard of at the FBI. But so far, the claim that these private texts between lovers prove profound FBI corruption and a vast conspiracy to destroy Trump strikes me as close to a paranoid delusion. Sometimes people say silly things to paramours. Several GOP lawmakers instantly transformed a joke about a secret society into proof of a fifth column in our government, an embarrassing, gravity-defying leap to conclusions. As for the surveillance court, I have no idea what the full story is. Some allege that the Obama administration used the so-called Steele dossier to get a warrant to monitor the machinations of Carter Page, an unpaid foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. If the Steele dossier was indeed the only evidence used to authorize a warrant, I think that's a problem. If it were merely part of the application, I fail to see the Watergate-level scandal. But here's the thing. So far, none of this has anything to do with whether Mueller can do his job properly. For all the phonous belongness about Strzok's deep state skullduggery, you think Strzok was secretly running the Mueller investigation. He was there for a little more than a month last summer, and Mueller dumped him once he heard about the text and the affair. Mueller, a man appointed to the FBI by a Republican, has a sterling reputation, even according to the president's Praetorian Guard, before partisanship forced them to change their story. And he was in private practice during all of these other events. But such facts don't matter when fog and outrage are your most reliable weapons. Jonah Goldberg is an editor-at-large of National Review Online and a visiting fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Email him at jonascolumn@aol.com.
Okay. This is another opinion column. The young politician gave the most important speech of his life Thursday night at a vocational school in a working-class town in the front of a Ford Mustang that screamed, "Oh, manufacturing economy." He spoke for unity across regional and racial lines. The mechanic in Pittsburgh and the teacher in Tulsa and the daycare worker in Birmingham. In support of economic fairness and against those who conquer by sowing division. Oh yes, and the 37-year-old's last name is Kennedy. Representative Joe Kennedy seemed ideal to deliver the Democrats' response to President Trump's State of the Union address, and his selection of Fall River, Massachusetts as his venue sent a welcoming signal to the party's lost souls. While Hillary Clinton won the city in 2016, deep economic discontent allowed Trump to up the GOP score by 11 points. Kennedy brought with him his family's tradition of confronting dividers on behalf of a diverse alliance, a role Barack Obama famously played 14 years ago. Bullies may land a punch, Kennedy declared. They might leave a mark, but they have never, not once in the history of our United States, managed to match the strength and spirit of a people united in defense of their future. The vigorous nods this generated in Democratic living rooms around the country could probably power Fall River for a decade. But it showed how much politics has changed, that choosing Kennedy to carry the torch was controversial for younger generations. Kennedy as a concept is so 5 decades ago. He is a white guy with ginger hair speaking for the party at a moment when African Americans, Latinos, and women are in the ascendancy in the Democratic coalition. Its members differ sharply over whether they should even try to bring home white working people who strayed to Trump. Many want to forge a new majority without them. I cannot pretend to metaphysical neutrality on this question because I grew up in Fall River, a relatively well-off by local standard kid in a blue-collar town, perpetually on the wrong end of whatever economic trends were, lifting up people elsewhere. I have never stopped loving a place that shaped so much of who I am and what I believe. My family was conservative in a New Deal stronghold, but even conservatives embodied a labor, ethnic, and largely Catholic culture and nourished a rough and ready kind of liberalism. One sign of the pervasivism of this worldview, my loyally Republican dad once surprised me by saying that had he been unemployed in 1930, he would have joined most of the rest of our town in voting for FDR. My own politics were forged by the Vietnam War and civil rights, particularly after a transformative engagement with the writings of Martin Luther King Jr. in a religion class in high school. But as important was the personal and gut instinct to side with blue-collar friends, neighbors, union folks, and fellow parishioners who grew accustomed to getting knocked around by the economy. I could never worship the free market because I respected too many people it regularly left stranded. In Fall River, solidarity is a living, breathing concept. So for me, it would be as wrong to abandon the white working class as it would be to break faith with African Americans, Latinos, members of the LGBTQ community, and women of all classes struggling for justice. The only political coalition that makes sense is an alliance of everybody who believes in government, policies, and economic system that meet the standard Kennedy set. We are all worthy. We are all equal, and we all count. Kennedy, it would appear from the commentary, won over many who were skeptical of him going in, partly because he was so insistent of making clear that a belief in the Fall River-style Democratic Party of old in no way precludes standing up for dreamers, Black Lives Matter, and Me Too. He helps his personal cause by wearing his name lightly. He noted in an interview on Wednesday that while his forebears were pretty good at giving a speech, he approached the evening with a modest objective. I set the bar at not destroying my political career, he said with a chuckle. He managed that. The long-term test of his effort will be whether he succeeded in pursuing his party's battling faction that a politics of false choices and zero-sum game is neither progressive nor effective. As a son of Fall River, I hope he did.
Congress must protect Mueller investigation by Ryan McGill. When Americans go to the ballot box, they put their confidence in leaders they believe will prioritize national security above partisan interests. But some congressional Republicans have betrayed that confidence. In recent weeks, President Trump's allies have escalated their attempts to discredit Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, even going so far as to smear and attack law enforcement officials involved in the probe. And last week it became known that President Trump himself went so far as to order Mueller's firing in June of 2017, but walked it back once White House counsel Don McGahn threatened to quit rather than follow those orders. With Trump and his inner circle submitting to interviews by Mueller and damaging new evidence coming to light daily, it is no wonder Trump loyalists are ramping up their efforts. Last week, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who tried to conceal his communications with Russia during the campaign, became the first member of Trump's cabinet to be interviewed. Now, Mueller is requesting an interview with President Trump in order to discuss his firing of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and FBI Director James Comey. All signs indicate that Mueller is investigating Trump for obstruction of justice, and Americans are looking for answers from the president, with 78% saying that they want Trump to testify. While some policymakers are more interested in pushing a political agenda than protecting our country from foreign interference, and they are sinking to new lows to block progress in the investigation. Several Republican congressmen have joined the right-wing media in calling for purges of the FBI. Others are urging Trump to refuse an in-person interview with the special counsel. In the House and Senate, Republican leadership is working overtime to discredit the investigation by refusing to subpoena key documents and launching sham investigations into whistleblowers. Trump and Sessions have played an active role in these attacks, pushing out 3 respected FBI agents who can reportedly corroborate former FBI Director James Comey's testimony about Donald Trump's obstruction of justice. 2 have already been replaced. Under pressure from Trump and Sessions to fire the 3rd, FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, FBI Director Christopher Wray threatened to quit. Meanwhile, as President Trump publicly considers firing Mueller, several of Trump's allies are pushing to remove Sessions from his post as Attorney General in the hopes of appointing someone who might put an end to the investigation. These attacks on accomplished and well-respected law enforcement officials aren't just incriminating for the Trump administration, they're a threat to our national security interests. At this critical moment for our country, it is more important than ever that patriotic members of Congress reach across the aisle to protect the investigative process and our national security interests from these un-American attacks. Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican of North Carolina, has already taken significant strides in the right direction, introducing bipartisan legislation last August to protect Mueller from being fired. Unfortunately, that legislation has been stalled for months, while the attacks on Mueller and the investigation have only intensified. As the White House grows more panicked, it is time for urgent bipartisan action from Senator Tillis to ensure a fair and impartial investigation. North Carolinians and voters across the nation are counting on it. Ryan McGill is a veteran of the Marine Corps and 3 combat tours in Iraq. He is a political partner with Truman National Security Project. He lives in Charlotte. Views expressed are his own. And this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations, and we request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our address is P.O. Box 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at area code 910-672-1600 or 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Alice.
and Robert, and we are proud to serve you today. It is time for the obituaries.
Okay. Our death notices. Cumberland County. Thelma A. Holland, 81 of Fayetteville, Herring Funeral Care and Cremations. Hattie M. Hooker, 60 of Fayetteville, Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. James W. Miles, 73 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. Cape Fear Region. Neil McDougall, 64 of Bun Level, Dafford Funeral Home of Dunn. Howard Peterson Clifton, 79 of Clinton, Royal Hall Funeral Home. Azaline Williams, 89 of Salemburg, Dafford Funeral Home in Dunn. Charles Oliver Bristow Jr., 50 of Laurinburg, Richard Bowles Funeral Service. Sonona Smith, 70 of Dunn, Dafford Funeral Home, Dunn. James Hunt, 84 of Maxton, Richard Bowles Funeral Service. Cleveland Gilliard Jr., 45 of Rockingham, Bowles Funeral Home. Funerals today. Timothy Inman, 49 of Bladenboro, 2 p.m. Bladen Gaskin Funeral Home, Chapel. Burial, Lewis Cemetery, Bladenboro. Bladen Gaskin Funeral Home, Elizabethtown. Colleen Shields, 97 of Fayetteville, 1 p.m. Rogers and Brees Funeral Home, Chapel. Burial, Lafayette Memorial Park Cemetery, Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. Violet Tatum, 85 of Benson, 3 p.m. Zor Pentecostal Free Will Baptist Church, Burial, Church Cemetery, Butler Funeral Home, Roseboro. Eunice Martin Nobles, 89 of Fayetteville, 2 p.m. Jernigan Warren Chapel, Burial, Lafayette Memorial Park, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Alina Sutton Hudson, 98 of Clinton, 10 a.m. Royal Hall Chapel, 301 McCoy Street, Clinton. Burial, Grandview Memorial Park, Royal Hall Funeral Home. Ruthie Bridges, 66 of Brayford, 2 p.m. Mount Sinai Holy Church. Burial, McLaughlin Chapel Cemetery, Bowie Funeral Home. Pearlie Mae Roberts, 71 of Fayetteville, 12 p.m. Lafayette Memorial Park West, Wiseman Mortuary. Martha Jones, 72 of Fayetteville, 12 p.m. Wiseman Mortuary. Burial, Lafayette Memorial Park, Wiseman Mortuary. John Rickson, 62 of Fayetteville, 2 p.m. Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services, Hope Mills. Okay, Cumberland County. Jessica M. Cox. Jessica Marie Cox, 31, passed away on Friday, January 26, 2018. Reverend Tim Gore and Reverend Jonathan Cox will officiate a memorial service at 11 a.m. on Saturday, February 3rd, 2018 at Sapana Road Church of God. An interment will be held at Fayetteville Memorial Cemetery. Colonel Edgar Howard Yeomans Jr. was laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors on January 18, 2018. Reeves Funeral Home of Hope Mills assisted the family. James A. Hawthorne, 72 of Fayetteville, died Saturday, January 22, 2018. Funeral Saturday 1 p.m. Cunningham and Sons Mortuary. Viewing Cunningham and Sons Mortuary Chapel Friday 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Burial Lafayette Memorial Park, Cunningham and Sons Mortuary. Jerry Bernard Crossing, 66 of Fayetteville, died Sunday, January 28, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 11 a.m. Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. Viewing Wiseman Mortuary Friday, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Northside Cemetery, Wiseman Mortuary. Mary Louise McDuffie, 64 of Fayetteville, died Monday, January 29, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 3 p.m. Morris Funeral Home Chapel. Burial Hillside Memorial Park. John Hudson Jr., 93 of Rayford, died Friday, January 26, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 2:30 p.m. J.W. Turlington School, 116 West Prospect Avenue. Viewing Bowie Funeral Home and Chapel Friday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Burial McLaughlin Chapel Cemetery, Bowie Funeral Home. Paul Edward Butler Sr., 73 of 1429 Isaac Weeks Road, Clinton, died Tuesday, January 30th, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 1 p.m. Union Grove Church of Christ, Clinton. Visitation Worley Funeral Home Friday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Burial Hillcrest Memorial Park, Clinton. Worley Funeral Home. Annie Mae McLaughlin Leslie, 77 of Durham, died Sunday, January 28, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 1 p.m. Purcell Funeral Home Chapel, Laurinburg. Burial McLeod Cemetery, Maxton. Purcell Funeral Home, Laurinburg. William Thomas, 65 of Laurinburg, died Wednesday, January 31st, 2018. Funeral Saturday, noon, Nazareth Baptist Church. Visitation McFadder Funeral Home Friday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Burial Cedar Grove Cemetery, McFadder Funeral Home. Samuel Sonny Goodman, Jr., 76 of 119 Whit Road, Newton Grove, died Tuesday, January 30th, 2018. Memorial Sunday, 1 p.m. Worley Funeral Home Chapel, Worley Funeral Home, Clinton. Jennifer Carter Hazelwood, 40 of Garland, died Tuesday, January 30th, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 2 p.m. Garland Pentecostal Free Will Baptist Church. Visitation Carter Funeral Home Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Burial Carter Cemetery, Carter Funeral Home. Dorothy Hobbs Blanton, 104 of Lake Waccamo, died Thursday, February 1st, 2018. Funeral was Saturday, 2 p.m. Peacock Funeral Home Chapel. Visitation Peacock Funeral Home Saturday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Burial Hillcrest Cemetery, Lake Waccamo. Julie Turner Finney, 58 of Hendersonville, died Sunday, January 28, 2018. Funeral Saturday, 1 p.m. First Alliance Church, Hendersonville. Visitation First Alliance Church, Hendersonville, 12:30 p.m. Lori's Funeral Home and Cremation Services. Ada Lee Jones, 92 of Brooklyn, New York, died Wednesday, January 24th, 2018. Funeral is Saturday, 11 a.m. Hills Chapel, 302 North Main Street. Visitation Hills Chapel, 302 North Main Street, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Burial Fairmont Cemetery, Hills Funeral Home. That concludes our obituaries.
Billy Graham, teaching children about God is a gift. Mrs. L.T. writes, I've been teaching our church's class for 5-year-olds for the last few years, but I'm discouraged and I don't think I'll continue. They don't pay attention most of the time, and I've about decided that all they need is a good babysitter. Am I wrong? The answer, let me ask you a question. Is a 5-year-old child too young to learn not to cross a busy street or too young to be taught not to touch a hot stove? No, of course not, and neither is a 5-year-old too young to learn about God. That doesn't mean they can understand everything there is to know about God or Jesus, but they can learn something. And God has given you the privilege of teaching it to them. Because they have experienced human love, for example, they can understand something of God's love. Because they see the wonders of the world around them, for example, they can understand something of God's power. Jesus said, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. Matthew chapter 19, verse 14. Ask God to help you in your teaching, to make it both interesting and understandable. Often a brief story from the Bible will capture their attention and will get across a simple but important spiritual truth. Don't speak down to them and avoid complicated ideas or mere moralisms. Most of all, pray for them and point them to Jesus. Not everyone is able to teach young children, I know, but don't quit unless you know it's God's will and that someone else can take your place. Seeds don't bear fruit in a day, and neither do the seeds of God's Word planted in the hearts of our children. But in time they do. Readers can write to the Reverend Billy Graham at the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, 1 Billy Graham Parkway, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28201, or you can call 877-2-GRAHAM. The website for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association is at billygraham.org. This article comes from Tribune Media Services.
Dear Abby, pregnant worker fears reprisal from Boys Club management. A few months ago, I informed my bosses I was pregnant. Within a week, they were trying to fire me and blame it on other things at work that made no sense and hadn't been issued before. I signed a letter of reprimand in our first meeting about the issues. I spoke with a coworker who told me she had a similar experience when she announced her pregnancy. I work for a company with a boys club mentality, so I didn't try to speak to HR because I was afraid for my already threatened job. A couple of weeks later, I miscarried and everything at work went back to normal. I actually got a raise a month later. Last week, I learned I'm pregnant again. My husband and I are excited about it, but I'm scared to tell my bosses for fear of a repeat from the last time. When should I tell them about my upcoming arrival? And is there anything I can do to protect my job? I have been looking for employment elsewhere, but haven't found anything yet. I need this job or else I would have already left. Secret, I'm scared in Utah. Pregnancy is a natural condition and you should not be punished for it. The first thing you should do is document everything that happened during your first pregnancy. Be sure to include what your coworker told you happened to her and how after your miscarriage all your problems at the office disappeared. Then schedule an appointment with an attorney and ask how you can protect yourself in the months to come.
Horoscope. Aquarius, January 20th through February 18th. You can get much more out of a certain physical activity than usual today if you simply make an effort and see it through. Don't give up. Pisces, February 19th through March 20th. You're eager to see the future, but your view is blocked by a certain obstacle that you've been dealing with for some time. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. What you say and do may affect others quite differently from how you expect. You can make minor but important changes midway through. Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. You may have to do a little more research before you know enough to engage in a certain activity by yourself. Until then, trust your teammates. Gemini, May 21st through June 20th. You may be leaning on a friend or family member more than usual today as you address a situation that no one expected to arise. Cancer, June 21st through July 22nd. You're ready to take on more than you were originally assigned. You're warned against anything that is completely unfamiliar to you. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. Opposites attract. And today, someone very different from you is eager to get much closer than you may have originally wanted. What about now? Virgo, August 23rd through September 22nd. You realize that a mutual attraction has developed between you and someone who might have been off limits at another time or place. Libra, September 23rd through October 22nd. You're eager to see if the rules really do apply to you, but no matter what the answer is, you're best to steer clear of a certain new activity. Scorpio, October 23rd through November 21st. You can contribute to something that develops very quickly and begins to yield handsome rewards in a very short time. Sagittarius, November 22nd through December 21st. You may have to explore the unknown today in order to get the answers you seek. Routine inquiries aren't likely to yield much. And Capricorn, December 22nd through January 19th. Do you have the feeling that you're being
Reformers unanimous. Addiction recovery. 7 p.m. 4:2 p.m. Falcon Park, Falcon for mothers and children. Cumberland United Methodist Church. 2262 George Owen Road, 800-932-8677 or tops.org. Alcoholics Anonymous, 7 a.m. to noon, 5, 8, and 11 p.m. 626 Sandalwood Drive, 8:45 a.m. 521 Hillsborough Street, noon, 5:30 p.m. 7 p.m. 604 German Street, noon. Monday, 604 German Street, noon. MT 2357 Quartermaster, Fort Bragg, noon. 1601 Rayford Road, noon. 6:30 p.m. 401 East 1st Street, Lumberton. 6 p.m. 4625 Campground Road. 7 p.m. 111 North Bragg Boulevard, Spring Lake. 7 p.m. Myoga Reese Women. 6:30 Quality Road. 7:30 p.m. 3525 Cliffdale Road. 7:30 p.m. 2704 East Broad Street, Elizabethtown. 8 p.m. 1601 Rayford Road, Young People. 8 p.m. 4303 Ludgate Street, Lumberton. Hotlines 678-8733 or 678-8002. Narcotics Anonymous. To find weekly meetings, times, and locations, call 866-418-9500 or go to crna.org. Al-Anon, 6 p.m. Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, 1601 Rayford Road.
Bill is beginning to deliver bigger paychecks by Sarah Skidmore Sell of the Associated Press. The contentious tax overhaul is beginning to deliver a change that many will welcome, bigger paychecks. Workers are starting to see more take-home pay as employers implement the new withholding guidelines from the IRS, which dictate how much employers withhold from pay for federal taxes. Those whose checks have remained the same shouldn't fret. Employers have until February 15th to make the changes. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin has estimated that the new rules will take-home pay for about 90% of American workers. Got an extra $200 in his paycheck last week, which he said a $300 increase in the cost of his health insurance. $1.50 a week. She didn't think her pay would go up at all, let alone this soon. That adds up to $78 a year. She said will more than cover her Costco membership for the year. And Todd Anderson of Texas and his fiancée, who are both educators, got an extra $200 in their paychecks combined. They plan to use to cover the cost of a second baby on its way. According to the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center, a middle-income household would on average get a tax cut of $930 this year, lifting their after-tax income by about 1.6%. That increase won't be perfectly reflected in their paychecks, though. That's because lower tax withholding on paychecks is just a piece of a complicated set of changes to tax law that the GOP pushed through in December. And what your employer withholds is based on an estimate of your tax obligation that includes many complex factors, but it's not a perfect measure. As a result, taxpayers may find that they are unintentionally over or under withholding for their taxes if they don't do some legwork. Senator Ron Wyden on the Senate Finance Committee and Representative Richard Neal on the House Ways and Means Committee, both Democrats, have asked the Government Accountability Office to analyze the new tables to make sure workers' paychecks weren't being systematically underwithheld, which will make paychecks bigger now but lead to a bigger bill at tax time. Mnuchin, speaking at a White House press briefing, dismissed this notion as ridiculous. Still, experts suggest that all taxpayers take a look at the new IRS calculator when it becomes available later in February to ensure they are having the correct amount withheld. And they should update the information on their W-4 after the IRS releases a revised version later this year. For most people, though, no change will be needed. The IRS said the new withholding table should produce an accurate withholding amount for people with simpler tax situations. But tax experts say those will still itemize have larger families or more complicated tax situations. They want to take a closer look. If they haven't done it before, this is a really good year to talk to your tax professional, said Pete Iceberg, Vice President of Government Relations for ADP, a payroll provider. The IRS, payroll, and tax professionals have been scrambling to react to the passage of the new tax law, and the IRS says it plans to make further changes involving withholding matters in 2019. Many in the industry say they expect the IRS to update the W-4 form in 2019 in a more dramatic fashion to fully reflect the scope of the law. No worker should anticipate a negative impact from the new withholding table if their pay remained the same, said Joseph Rosenberg, a senior researcher at the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center. However, someone who got a raise may face a higher tax rate as a result. Some corporations have been handing out bonuses and wage increases in reaction to passage of the law. A worker's net pay may also fall if other factors that go into their paycheck change, such as an increase in health insurance premiums or higher state taxes. Still, a little extra money in the hands of most Americans may also help boost support of President Donald Trump and his tax plan. Trump and the Republican backers of the plan have deflected criticism of the legislation, insisting that Americans will come to love the new law when they see their heftier paychecks. Some workers received the increase with mixed emotions, though. It's tough to be upset about more money in my pocket, said Jeffrey Snively, an aerospace engineer who got a 4% bump in his paycheck due to the lower tax rate. He said that's not enough to feel like a windfall or a change in spending habits, but it's a pleasant change. Yet he thinks the tax overhaul wasn't really about him or other workers, but more about corporations and the wealthy. I think the people this bill made the most difference for are the ones who need it at least, he said.
Okay. Trump okay with releasing memo. Over the strong objection of his own Justice Department, President Donald Trump will clear the way for the publication of the classified memo of the Russian investigation that Republicans say show improper use of the surveillance by the FBI White House officials. The memo prepared by Republicans on the White House Intelligence Committee is said to allege FBI misconduct in the initial stages of its investigation of potential ties between Russia and Trump's 2016 campaign. Trump's Justice Department and Democrats furiously lobbied Trump to stop the release, saying it could harm national security and mislead the public. A White House official said Congress would probably be informed of the decision today, adding Trump was okay with its release. A second White House official said Trump was likely to declassify the congressional memo, but the precise method for making it public was still being figured out. The officials were not authorized to be quoted about private deliberations and spoke on conditions of anonymity. The FBI's stance means that Trump, by allowing the memo's release, would be openly defying his own FBI director. It also suggests a clear willingness by FBI Director Christopher Wray, who in the early stretch of his tenure has been notably low-key to challenge a president who just months ago fired his predecessor, James Comey. The House Intelligence Panel voted along party lines Monday to put the memo out, giving Trump 5 days to reject the release under committee rules. But Trump also has the power to declassify the document himself and either release it or hand it to Congress to release. One of the White House officials said the memo would be in Congress's hands after Trump declassified it, and there were likely to be redactions to the document. Trump has said he wants the memo released even after the FBI declared Wednesday that it has grave concerns about its accuracy. The document was written as part of an effort to reveal what Republicans say are surveillance abuses by the FBI and the Justice Department early in the Russia investigations, before Special Counsel Robert Mueller was appointed to take it over. Senior FBI officials have also made direct appeals to the White House, warning that it could set a dangerous precedent. Democrats called the memo an attempt by the Republicans to distract attention from the investigation into Russia's meddling in the election that sent Trump to the White House. Democrats on the intelligence panel made a last-ditch effort Wednesday evening to stop the release, saying it had been secretly altered by the Republicans who wrote it. California Representative Adam Schiff said in a letter to the White House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Republican Devin Nunes of California, that committee Democrats had discovered changes that were made after the vote Monday. The White House has therefore been reviewing the document since Monday night that the committee never approved for public release, Schiff said in a letter. Schiff asked Nunes for another vote on the memo, but Republicans didn't appear to waver. Nunes' spokesman, Jack Langer, said the committee vote was procedurally sound. To suggest otherwise is a bizarre distraction from the abuses detailed in the memo, which the public will hopefully soon be able to read for themselves, Langer said. This all comes as Special Counsel Mueller is investigating whether the Trump campaign improperly coordinated with Russia and whether Trump sought to obstruct the inquiry by other actions, firing Comey. Republicans have intensified their pressure on the Justice Department as Mueller's probe has moved closer to Trump's inner circle.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our address is P.O. Box 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at area code 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Alice
and Robert, and we are proud to serve you today. Dining out, Buckhead Steakhouse is worth the drive. Tell us about your place. Chef Enrique Castaneda opened Buckhead Steakhouse on Camden Road in February of 2013. Our goal was to open a steakhouse in the Hope Mills area, he said. We're an American steakhouse, but we also have many other dishes on the menu that are international favorites, Castaneda said. He started his career in Atlanta and moved back to Fayetteville in 2010. He previously was one of the owners of Trio Cafe on South McPherson Church Road. I love to cook and I create my own recipes. I'm happy when I'm at work and I enjoy making special meals for people, he said. I love to see the happy faces of customers who enjoy our food. Specialties are grilled steak, and it is made to order and cooked over an open flame, he said. The top sirloin, the filet mignon, and the ribeye are the restaurant's most popular steak dishes, he said. The ribeye, which is premium aged Angus beef, can be ordered with the homemade house seasonings, blackened or Cajun style. The menu also includes a marinated flank steak, chopped steak, barbecue, baby back ribs, and carnitas tacos, which are prepared with slow-cooked seasoned pork. Combination orders are also available, include the surf and turf, sirloin and ribs, and sirloin with either shrimp or chicken. Sides include roasted garlic mashed potatoes, lime and cilantro rice, baked sweet potato, and sautéed spinach. Most popular dish. The pasta dishes are really popular, Castaneda said. Although the chicken and the seafood pasta dishes sell very well, he said. Diners may choose from the roasted chipotle chicken with penne pasta, linguine with shrimp, calamari and salmon, sautéed lobster tail linguine, and a chicken alfredo with broccoli served over penne. The chef also created what he calls a fit foods menu and a meal prep service for health-conscious customers. The menu includes salads, flatbreads with turkey, chicken, or salmon, wraps, and individually packaged meals. For those with a sweet tooth, there are a variety of desserts including fried vanilla cheesecake, chocolate flan, tiramisu, and mini beignets. Why should diners eat here? We offer our customers many delicious choices, and we use quality ingredients in the food that we prepare, Castaneda said. Everything is fresh and homemade. It is worth a drive. It is on 5554 Cameron Road. You can call them at 423-1120 or go to the website buckheadsteakhouse.squarespace.com, and the Buckhead Grill is also on Facebook. Hours are Monday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday noon to 10:30 p.m., Sunday noon to 9:30 p.m. Type of food is American and international cuisine, including appetizers, steak, pasta, chicken, seafood, and sandwiches. Prices range from $7.29 to $29.99.
Okay, making plans for Super Sunday. Super Bowl. What's L11?
52.
52. Is it going to be Super Bowl 52?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Super Bowl 52 is Sunday. That much is certain. Justin Timberlake will headline the halftime show, and Pink will sing the national anthem. We're pretty sure about that, too. But the big question, who will win, is still to be decided. That's why we watch, after all. The smart money is on the New England Patriots, who, with 5 Super Bowl wins, have become something like the New York Yankees of football, although they trail the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have 6. But don't count out the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody loves an underdog, and you can bet the Eagles will be playing to win. The Super Bowl is the country's most watched sporting event. Kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. at the U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, but the commentators and prognosticators will be weighing in long before then. Most people will watch the game sitting in front of the television at home with friends, with family and friends, a bowl of nachos and a plate of wings. But a lot of folks are going to want to get out among the crowds and to watch the big game. Here are a few local options. Louis Sports Bar. Super Bowl Sunday starts early at the Sports Pub at 2417 Robinson Street. A chili cook-off starts at 3 p.m. and bartender Jennifer Burt, the bar has a 99-seat capacity indoors, but a huge outdoor area with a tiki bar and a cornhole games. But Burt said inside at least 9 TVs will be turned to the game, which will be aired by NBC. The bar will offer drink specials during the game on beer and mixed drinks, Burt said. It's going to be great, she said. For more information, call 323-3373 or check the Louis Facebook page. Husk Hardware House. There's plenty of room to watch the game at the restaurant and brewery at 405 Hay Street in downtown Fayetteville. Seating capacity is 356, said manager Donna Stevens. Husk has 10 TVs on which to watch the game, Stevens said on Sunday. There will be specials on appetizers such as wings, chips and salsa, and cheese sticks. Beer and mixed drink specials also will be served. Stevens said there will be giveaways throughout the day of items such as t-shirts, cozies, and gift certificates. There will be a big crowd, Stevens said. It's hit and miss. It always depends on who actually makes it to the Super Bowl, she said. For more information, call 437-9905 or go to huskhardware.com. Sports USA. This is The bar at 3-2102 Long Street Road on Fort Bragg. But civilians are welcome too. They just don't forget about the security gates you'll have to pass through to get there. Valencia Rayner, an operations clerk at Sports USA, said the Super Bowl will be playing on the more than 20 TVs in the bar. She said vendors may be giving items away during the game. The bar seats around 360 people with room for more. There are pool tables and video games if you want to take a break from the gridiron action, or if your team is 3 touchdowns behind at the half. Call 907-0739 or go to bragg.com/programs/sports-USA for more information. Buffalo Wild Wings. The action will be going on inside and out at the restaurant and bar at 2097 Scottsboro Road. General Manager Tom Humphreyville said Buffalo Wild Wings has 90 TVs inside, including 3 projectors. There are about 250 seats inside and about 60 on the patio, where 8 or 9 more TVs will be showing the game. The whole place has an incredible sound system, Humphreyville said. It's a stadium-like atmosphere. Humphreyville said takeout is popular at the restaurant on Super Bowl Sunday. Cooks start preparing wings and other dishes around 11 a.m. They take it home and heat it up in the oven just in time for the game. Humphreyville said by 3 p.m. we have a long line of folks waiting for pickups. Call 868-1561 for more information. Max Speed Shop. Items like pulled pork brisket barbecue and beer can chicken are popular at the restaurant and bar at 482 North McPherson Church Road on Sunday. Football also will be on the menu. Manager Moshe Salmon said the restaurant has 16 TVs and I'm pretty sure all of them will be on the Super Bowl. The restaurant has a capacity of 103, not including the patio. On Sunday, Max will offer food and drink specials, including 25-cent wings during the fourth quarter of the game. 57 beers are on tap. Come early, Sampson said. For more information, call 354-2590. Okay.
State freeze. State health officials report 20 more flu deaths. Raleigh. Another 20 people have died from the flu, pushing the death toll in North Carolina for the season to 95, health officials said Thursday. In addition to the weekly report, the State Department of Health and Human Services says 7 people who died in previous weeks were found to have had the flu. For the 2017 to 18 season, there have been 63 elderly deaths, 25 deaths of people ages 50 to 64, 4 from ages 25 to 49, and 3 from ages 5 to 17. No children were included in the latest death toll. The department says there were 25 flu-related deaths at the same time last year. Cooper and Bell's program focusing on rural communities. Raleigh. Governor Roy Cooper says a new program in his administration will help local governments in rural areas improve their economies by making it easier for them to get needed infrastructure and training improvements. Cooper announced Thursday the Hometown Strong initiative, which will kick off in the spring when counties are chosen for the first partnerships. Program leaders hope to work with a community's leaders to find ways to leverage funding and resources for projects with the assistance of state agencies, nonprofits, and others. Cooper says Hometown Strong will be led by ex-state Representative Pryor Gibson and Mary Penny Kelly, a former senior advisor in the Department of Environmental Quality. Gibson also worked for then-Governor Bev Perdue. Attorneys General urge drilling plan cancellation. Raleigh. The top lawyers for a dozen coastal states want the U.S. Interior Department to cancel the Trump administration's plan to expand offshore drilling, warning it threatens their maritime economies and natural resources. The Attorneys General, all Democrats, wrote Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke on Thursday about his agency's proposed 5-year oil and gas leasing plan that opens new ocean waters. North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein says he assembled a coalition He says his state's coastal tourism industry alone generates $3 billion and 13,000 jobs. The letter also was signed by Attorney General of California, Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Virginia. Stein also told federal regulators this week that proposed changes to drilling safety requirements will increase exploration risk. State School Board allows more time for takeover search, Raleigh. North Carolina school officials are going to keep looking for a company to run the first academically low-performing school to be taken away from its local school board. The State Board of Education decided Thursday to allow another 2 months to search for the right school manager after the first two to step forward didn't meet expectations. Independent evaluations determined that neither North Carolina-based Achievement for All Children nor Michigan-based Bromine Group appeared ready to take over and turn around Southside Ashpole Elementary in Robeson County. The deadline for picking a school operator was supposed to be later this month. The State School Board expects to select 5 low-performing schools in the coming years that will be transferred to what the state is calling the New Innovative School District. FBI. Violent airline passenger zip-tied on flight. Charlotte. Federal agents say an airline passenger was zip-tied and duct-taped after she ran toward the front of the plane and became violent. A criminal complaint filed in federal court says the event happened on an American Airlines flight Wednesday morning from Dallas to Charlotte. An FBI agent wrote that Charlene Harriet got up from her seat near the back of the plane, ran toward the front, and ignored flight attendants' instructions to sit down. Authorities say flight attendants restrained her in the first-class section, but she bit one and kicked another. The criminal complaint, filed Thursday, says she faces a charge of interfering with a flight crew. An FBI spokeswoman didn't immediately respond to an email asking if Harriet has an attorney. Jail records showed she was being held Thursday night. Suspect arrested in stabbing death at park, Durham. Police have arrested a suspect in a woman's stabbing death at a park. Durham police said in a previous news release that officers were called to a park around 9 p.m. Tuesday and found the body of 50-year-old Alicia Elder. A statement from police on Thursday said 55-year-old Michael Anthony Person was arrested and charged with murder. Investigators said the incident doesn't appear to be random. And man dies after fall from pickup, Jacksonville. The North Carolina Highway Patrol says a man was killed when he fell from the back of a pickup truck while he was trying to hold down some furniture. The patrol told local media outlets that 20-year-old Michael Lane III was trying to hold down a couch and box spring in the bed of the pickup truck on Wednesday when Lane and the 2 items fell out. Lane was taken to New Hanover Regional Medical Center in Wilmington, where he died. Trooper N.T. Bryan said charges are pending against the driver of the truck and added that neither speed nor alcohol was a factor in the accident. And these briefs are from the Associated Press.
Okay, Hostiles is simple but effective. Scott Cooper's grim, thoughtful, revisionist western Hostiles opens with the D.H. Lawrence observations. The essential American soul is hard, isolate, stoic, and the killer. Its protagonist, Captain Joseph Blocker, initially fits that diagnosis. He is not a hero, never was, and never will be. He's a cavalry soldier in 1892, New Mexico, who has witnessed slaughter and survived with scars of his own. His enemies were not invaders, but Native Americans standing against forced resettlement and extermination through principles of manifest destiny. The notion that the United States was ordained by God to dominate North America. While today's historians equate that territorial expansion's atrocities with what the Holocaust is to Jews and what slavery is to African Americans, Blocker interprets it differently. His job is to suppress violent resistance to the law of the land. He is an ice-cold enforcer, prepared to maintain order by any means necessary. The concepts behind that assignment were not part of his job description. Blocker is the kind of distressing, morally discordant anti-hero that Christian Bale can play like a Stradivarian violin in Hostiles, We follow him through a tragic march of progression across a landscape of impending dread and grief. While the film is not a barrier-blocking, melancholy landscape like Unforgiven, they share a mature, tight, grounded approach to heavy subject and a critical commentary on hand-me-down Western tropes. It's not the film I was expecting, but I respected what it was trying to do. Rather than being glorified, balance is treated as one of mankind's original sins. The film opens with a barbaric sequence of a Comanche raiding party murdering the husband, 2 daughters, and an infant son of Rosalind Pike. Following that, we encounter Blocker, famed for taking more scalps than Sitting Bull himself. Much to Blocker's dismay, he's ordered to escort the newly released Cheyenne Chief Yellowhawk, Wes Studi, and his family back to their mountain birthplace. Dying of cancer, Yellowhawk wants to be buried in his homeland. Blocker has spent his career battling the Cheyenne, whom he detests. Adding to his angst, Yellowhawk killed several of his friends, but to pass the area's Comanche bandits, Blocker grudgingly accepts that he must work with Yellowhawk on the 1,000-mile trek to the chief's home. Shortly after setting out, they find the traumatized and exhausting Rosalie still clinging to the baby's body. Rosalie rides with the group to reach a distant rail line that can take her back to the safety of the East Coast. Along the way, they pass visually impressive locations that evocatively capture the West's ominous beauty. The narrative is Blocker's journey past a history he's not much proud of, with Native American actors Studi, Adam Beach, Corinda Kilcher, Bell's co-star in The New World, providing a layered tapestry of the resonant characters. Their part in the decades-long battle between the settlers and the natives is done. They simply want to move on, but Blocker is still internally at war. Rosalie, who sees her traveling companions as separate from the Comanche who killed her family, emerge from her suicidal stupor and befriends the group. Between unnerving bloodbaths in which they all must work together to survive, a grudging respect forms between the parties. Meanwhile, Blocker faces a rising sense of personal remorse as his conscience begins to evolve. It's a simplistic storyline, but an effective one. Bell does outstanding work, revealing unexpected depth of intelligence and sensitivity. In one almost wordless, emotionally harrowing scene, he gives a private, wet-eyed farewell to his most important friend, a hospitalized soldier, movingly played by Jonathan Majors, who is going downhill. It's clear that there is an injured heart beneath Blocker's stoic seriousness.
Cheers and jeers. Cheers for a dental clinic. Tiffany Murphy of Dunn writes, cheers to Dr. Patrice Barber, her lovely dental assistant Latoya, and her amazing treatment coordinator Bridget of Alliance Family Dental. This was my 3rd visit to this fine establishment. I just recently had my first root canal, and where most people with dental anxiety as high as mine would have been terrified, the staff at Alliance Family Dental settled every ounce of fear I had and made my procedure go by smoothly. Dr. Barber and Latoya were gentle, quick, and efficient. Thank you all so much for your top-notch client-patient services. I recommend all of Fayetteville and surrounding areas to Alliance Family Dental. Send us your cheers or jeers. Want to share praise for an individual or business, or vent about a bad experience? Submit your cheer or jeer to cheersandjeers@fayobserver.com or call 486-3590. Include your full name, hometown, and phone number. Limit your item to 125 words. To correct or cancel a submission, call 609-0651. Cheers and jeers are published as space permits.
Okay, nifty new product. Fresh pasta from your countertop. For fresh bread lovers who have no time or interest in baking, automatic bread makers fit the bill. New pasta makers do the same. One is Phillips Compact pasta and noodle maker. This fully automatic appliance mixes, kneads, and extrudes smooth and consistent pasta in less than 20 minutes. An adjustment determines 3 kinds of pasta: spaghetti, penne, fettuccine. Various flours can be used, including whole wheat, durum, and spelt. Add spices and natural flavoring such as garlic or vegetable juices to give pasta a distinct look and taste. A recipe book is included. The dishwasher-safe components make this easy to clean. Available in white, black, or red. Cost is $250 or less at retailers such as Williams Sonoma, Kohl's, and Best Buy.
Arizona House boots lawmaker over sexual misconduct by Bob Christie, the Associated Press, Phoenix. The Arizona House voted Thursday to expel a Republican lawmaker after a report ordered by legislative leaders of his own party show he engaged in a pattern of sexual harassment toward women. Representative Don Shooter of Yuma is believed to be the first state lawmaker in the U.S. to be voted out of his seat since the hashtag #MeToo movement against sexual misconduct began last fall. Other legislators nationwide have resigned or been stripped of their leadership post after being accused of misconduct. The fallout comes months after Republican Representative Michelle Ugenti-Rita said Shooter propositioned her for sex and repeatedly commented on her breast. Many other women, including the then publisher of Arizona's largest newspaper, then complained that he subjected them to inappropriate sexual comments or actions. Shooter told the Associated Press that he deserves to be punished, but did nothing to justify expulsion. "I've had 2-3 months to think about this. I did wrong. I deserve a censure," he said. "But I'll tell you this, I was sent here by the people of District 13. And to the best of my knowledge, I've never betrayed that trust. Never, never. Not for monkey business, not for contributions, not for influence, not for power, not for anything. And by God, they're the ones who should throw me out if they want to throw me out. And they may," he said. Shooter had been facing censure, but Republican House Speaker J.D. Mesner moved for a vote to expel him after the embattled lawmaker sent a letter to fellow lawmakers Thursday. It alleged the investigative report that Mesner commissioned into Shooter's and Ugenti-Rita's behavior whitewashed accusations against another House member that were far worse than what Shooter is accused of doing. Shooter would not name the lawmaker. Representative Shooter's letter represents a clear act of retaliation and intimidation, and yet another violation of the House's harassment policy, so I will be moving to expel him from the House of Representatives immediately, Mesner said in slamming the letter. Ugenti-Rita initially complained about Shooter's behavior in mid-October, and the following weeks the woman then working as the publisher of the Arizona Republic newspaper and a number of others also complained about inappropriate behavior and comments by Shooter. Former newspaper publisher Mihai Parrish, who is Asian American, wrote in a column online that Shooter told her last year during a meeting in his office that he had done everything on his bucket list except for those Asian twins in Mexico. Shooter has denied sexual harassment but acknowledged that he made jarring, insensitive, and demeaning comments. He asked for the investigation after Ugenti-Rita said he propositioned her. "I say stupid things and do stupid things, I guess," he said Thursday, and I stood up. I apologized to those that I hurt that were legitimate. I can't change the past, but I can change the future if I'm given the opportunity.
Okay. You don't have to wait for new Apple batteries. Save power now. As 2017 came to a close, thousands signed a class action suit claiming Apple was purposefully slowing down older handsets to save battery life, reported Macworld on December 29th. Because more than 1 billion iPhones are currently in use as of fall 2017, the battery concern is real. In a message to the world via Apple.com, the company responded to allegations with this direct statement. "We've been hearing feedback from our customers about the way we handle performance for iPhones with older batteries and how we have communicated that process. We know that some of you feel Apple has let you down. We apologize. First and foremost, we have never and would never do anything to intentionally shorten the life of any Apple product or degrade the user experience to drive customer upgrades." Further, the site message shares information on how batteries age, how to avoid unexpected shutdowns, how to acquire a $29 out-of-warranty iPhone battery replacement. Customers with iPhone 6 or later versions can request the battery replacement at the lower price. The price returns to $79 after December 2018. To switch out an iPhone battery, the user must take it to an Apple retailer or ship the phone to Apple, explains CNN Tech. Because Apple has been inundated with requests for the replacement battery, Macworld expects wait time to extend into March and April. Plus, an iOS software update is due out soon that, according to Apple, will provide more insight into the health of the iPhone battery so that users can see for themselves whether the battery condition is affecting the smartphone's performance. Apple also suggests that these tips for optimal iPhone and iPad battery life: update to the latest software, iOS, dim the screen or turn on auto brightness. To dim, swipe up from the bottom of any screen to open the control center and drag the brightness slider to the left. Go to settings, display, and brightness and set auto brightness to on. When you use your device, access data, a Wi-Fi connection uses less power than a cellular network. Enable low power mode by going to settings, battery. Low power mode reduces display. Turn off the features that allow apps to refresh in the background. Go to settings, general, background, app refresh, and set the switch to off. Turn off location services for apps in settings, privacy, location services.
And far-right extremist guilty in London Muslims attack. A man who steeped himself in far-right anti-Muslim ideas before driving a van into a crowd of worshippers near a North London mosque was convicted Thursday of murder and attempted murder. A jury at London's Woolwich Crown Court deliberated for just an hour before finding 48-year-old Darren Osborne guilty of the June 2017 attack in the city's Finsbury Park neighborhood. A 51-year-old man, Makram Ali, was killed and 15 people were injured when a rented van plowed into worshippers gathering after evening prayers during Ramadan. Prosecutors said Osborne was motivated by extreme Islamophobia and saw Muslims as extremists or rapists and pedophile gangs. Several men who witnessed the attack pinned Osborne to the ground until police arrived. He was heard to say, "I want to kill more Muslims." Prosecutor Jonathan Reyes told the jury during the 10-day trial. Another witness reported Osborne saying, "I've done my job. You can kill me now." This concludes our reading of the Fayetteville Observer for Friday, February 2nd, 2018. Your radio hosts have been
Alice
and Robert. We will now join the Raleigh Network for additional news of interest on the Southeastern North Carolina radio reading service. Thank you for tuning us in. We've enjoyed being with you this morning. Have a wonderful day.